Oh, well, look, I suppose I'm too much, you know, of the old school. It's probably, for me, you know, I miss it.
The late 80s, golf clubs, specifically drivers, had still predominantly been made out of persimmon woods.
As you can see, it's a bit of timber, and it's got a plate on the bottom. We had some weighting on the back there, and it's a binding, and you know, used to try and get the grain as close as possible.
I used to sell golf clubs. I was a golf club salesman, but I was also the golf club maker, and I knew that club from its embryonic stage right through to the finished product.
So very ornate, small, you know, pieces of equipment that, you know, when struck on the center, made the ball go pretty far.
The richest Professional Golfers Association tourney of all time sees Gary Player tee off, first of the big three, seeking $25,000 first money. Then this year's top money winner, Jack Nicklaus, shows the powerful drive that brings him a tie for second place.
Club makers were finding it hard to get that quality persimmon because it was a tree, and they'd cut the trees down and they'd use the best of it, and all of a sudden here they are. What in the hell are we going to make these club heads out of?
The persimmon club, it was very difficult to hit straight.
That was state of the art. You know, they had grown a little bit in size, but still generally very small, especially by today's standards.
This one here was my persimmon driver that I used to use when I first come out as a pro. You know, I was using it in 1987.
As man does, he starts to experiment, and well, if we can investment cast an iron, why in the hell can't we investment cast a wood?
And then in late 90, Mr. Helmstetter and Mr. Callaway had created a prototype, had already codenamed the project Big Bertha, because they knew they were working on a driver. And Big Bertha was a famous World War I howitzer cannon. The club itself is made out of two components: this entire top section, or the crown, face, ribbon, and then this entire bottom piece here is a separate piece called a sole plate.
All of a sudden, that metal head was indestructible, basically, unless you ran over it with a steamroller or hit it with a sledgehammer.
The handmade drivers more or less went out the window. They were closed down overnight.
It sounded entirely different than anything else on the market.
Ping, or it went pong, or it went ding, or it went dong.
You know, like a ting.
Us purists said, good grief, we're never going to play with one of those.
Coming out with that large, oversized, loud-sounding, oddly named, oddly shaped metal wood really caught the attention of many people. It really was almost like cheating there at the beginning. I mean, relative, the jump was so large from persimmon to Big Bertha that people immediately fell in love with the golf club. It was just it made such a dramatic impact to their game.
They also got lighter, which meant that they could get longer, and then you'd pick up more speed with the club head. So that meant that you could hit the ball further.
It was very, very significant. All of a sudden you had a driver that you could hit a little bit off the toe and still get substantial length out of it.
You could hit it all over the face, and because it's larger, the club head wouldn't twist as much when you hit it off center, and therefore that meant longer and straighter shots.
I gained, 40 yards overnight when I actually did change to a metal-headed club.
The day the metal head came out, it was all gone, and look,
it just was miles beyond anything else at the time, and that's why it just lit up like a huge fire and was a huge success in the early 90s.
You can see why, it was almost unstoppable. Everybody wanted one.
I don't know of a single player anywhere in the world that's using persimmon driver. No one. And it has changed the game.
The old school, the young person who's never experienced that, he doesn't miss it because he hasn't known any different. So we move on.